very happy to welcome Minister Amaro, Minister of Municipal Affairs, to our community, and thank him for having a look at our community and in the trouble that we're in. And I won't say many words, but thank you, and we're very happy to see you here today.
All right. Well, listen, thank you, Mayor. Great to be here in your community. I'm going to begin by, first of all, just thanking everybody. I want to say to Mayor DeVolen, we've been through this twice in the last 5 years, and it's one of the good things that comes out of this is that, you know, you reconnect with your neighbors and people work on behalf of each other. So first of all, just a great big thank you to everybody for coming together and doing the best that you can under very trying circumstances. Great to be here with MP Schmale and, of course, with MPP Scott. Thanks for all of them. I will tell you, your member came up to me in the ledge 4 or 5 days ago, maybe longer. I don't even recall, but it all becomes a blur for us after a while. But Lori's been asking me about your particular community for some time, and it's a pleasure to work with her on your behalf as well. What I will tell you here now is about 15 minutes, maybe half an hour ago now, as we were driving, we were in North Bay for the Phenom conference last night and today, and we left North Bay and came here. About 15 minutes to half an hour ago, we received a formal notice from my office in Toronto that we have formally activated the Ontario Disaster Relief Assistance Program for your community. So I hope that you all, Now, at the same time, I'm going to run through a list of communities. As you may know, Renfrew County was the first area to go through this about a week ago. We activated the program for Renfrew County a few days back already now. But for here, Ottawa, Clarence Rockland, Champlain, Minden Hills, Petawawa, Greater Madawaska, and Arnprior are. But I want to be clear for you today. When we announce, there is a fair bit of work that goes into delineating the parts of the communities that will be under the program. So when I say Ottawa, it's not the whole city of Ottawa by way of example. People are always looking for announcements to come very quickly and very soon. There's a lot of granular work. The damage, the emergency may be obvious on the ground, but to activate the program, we're trying to delineate an area of geography. And one of the reasons that's important too is that if you, for example, were to designate a whole city knowing that it wasn't going to be the whole city, then you actually plug the system up and things happen slower. The program, the Ontario Disaster Relief Assistance Program, has two components to it. There's a municipal infrastructure side that the mayor he's going to be doing his work there. And there's a private side to the program as well. And I'm sure during the scrum we'll probably get into a few questions about that. But the program is now formally activated. It will probably be up on the website, I would say, within an hour or so. It's up now. And anybody that's looking for detail that I'm not able to provide you today, you're going to be able to find that on the website that's up. I want to as well thank ministry staff. I don't know if we have any of them that are here with us now, but if you're in the crowd, and if they're not, if you can convey my thanks to them. We've been dealing with a number of these over the time that I've been in the ministry. It's my second tour of the ministry, and we always get great commentary back from the communities that are affected for the work that the ministry does on the ground. They come in, they do the assessments, they make the recommendation to me as minister on whether or not to activate a program. So it's the ministry staff on the ground, and I know that your municipalities work very closely with them. So I think I'm going to stop there, and I'm going to do my best to ask any questions or answer any questions that you may have of me.
What about funding for flood mitigation infrastructure on an ongoing basis? How would that work?
Yeah, so that's a completely separate question as well. The mayor and I had a bit of a discussion. I was asking, we're on the Trent Severn Waterway. I know that that's a federally regulated waterway. We were doing some discussion about that. I asked if the mayor had made an application already to the National Disaster Mitigation Program. It's a joint program. The province is providing funding to that as well. But obviously long-term infrastructure and long-term floodplain mapping, that's work we do provincially. All of this has to happen. I think the message for all of us is second time in 5 years, is that right?
Declared in
Second.
1 near miss.
And 1 near miss. We all understand that we may be in what is a new normal. And as I said, Thunder Bay, 2 and 5 years. So many other communities that are being affected now. We used to call them 1 in 100-year floods. We're not using that language anymore. And so your question is a fair one. This needs to become the focus. We need to be planning our communities better. Municipalities have some authority in terms of where development can occur. We need to be paying more attention to what might be floodplains We need to be updating our floodplain mapping, and obviously our decisions around municipal infrastructure and the help that provinces and the federal government can provide need to be part of this discussion. It's obviously not going away, and as I said, it may be our new normal.
Can you just describe some of what you saw on your tour?
Well, you know, what you see is that you see a lot of heartache. You see people. When we made the tour turn and came back down this way, it became more into focus for me. There's people that are dealing with some significant trauma, some of them for the second time probably in 5 years. I experienced it in my home community. I know how difficult this is for people. And again, I'm thanking people, we're thanking volunteers, and as I said, we're happy that the province will be able to provide some assistance. We want to help people as much as we can, but at the same time, I need to ensure people understand this is not a replacement for insurance. Our program is about providing for necessities, and as best we're able to provide people as quick an access back into a safe and a habitable home as we can.
How long do you think it'll be before municipal officials kind of find out, what kind of assistance is coming to their community?
Well, it's on a case-by-home basis almost. That the infrastructure piece is separate from the private home piece. One of the changes that we've made in this program on the private home side, and I was just discussing this with the mayor, is this is a relatively new program. I mean, we've had disaster programs in Ontario for some time. The one we're operating under now is 1 to 2 years old. One of the changes that we've made on the private side is that previous to this change, you had to fundraise locally for the private component of the fund. And I think you had to match 3 to 1 or 4 to 1. The province would then come in and match. So if you raised $100,000, we'd give you $400,000. You don't have to do that anymore. So there's no longer a local fundraising requirement for the private component of the ODRAP program. This is key for 2 reasons. One, no responsibility on the local community or the Salvation Army, Red Cross, whoever may have led that charge. But 2, because you don't have to do that work to fundraise, that means we can expedite processing claims sooner. So I'm not saying it happens fast. These things never happen as fast as we want them to, but it will happen faster than it used to because you no longer have that local fundraising component requirement on a local community. So for that reason, it's very important, and I think even though it will seem perhaps like it's taking longer than we might like it to, there's work that has to be done. I encourage your homeowners to keep everything, any cost-related item that they have that they feel is justifiable related to this tragedy. Make sure you keep your receipts. Any cost that you have, ultimately they will be required for you to make your claim into the adjuster that will handle the claims process for the province.
Just another question, if I may. This is obviously a repeated problem, and there are some communities that have found ways to address it. And one of those communities is Hay River out in Alberta. So I would be encouraged if places could be looked at in terms of what they did to do long-term solving of the problem. So we're not mitigating issues every 4 years or something. So Hay River is a great example of what they've done, and just to encourage.
Well, and another example is we see in Manitoba, the Winnipeg, in Winnipeg,
Yes.
where that one seems to flood every however many years, right, where they're not able to find a long-term solution. Goes back to the first question that we had. I mean, absolutely it needs to be a focus. I would say, as a province, there's been some of that focus already for a number of years, where we're doing work on floodplain mapping and updating our mapping and making that a requirement of the work we do. I was asking the mayor if you had a conservation authority here in your region. I think you said
We have a hybrid
You have a hybrid.
that
So
represents all the reservoir lakes.
yeah, but obviously your question is a great one. It goes this question. We discussed this. It's why I began asking about the Trans-Severn Waterway, the management of it. You've got 28 lakes that are 24 lakes above you that are affected, and the infrastructure and how that's controlled or not controlled, and the ability of that infrastructure on the Trans-Severn Waterway to have long-term mitigation for you and the costs associated with building that infrastructure. We all have to be there. We all have to be willing to be part of that solution for sure. And hopefully the federal government sees the necessity here and comes forward and is willing to play a role in this as well.
Yeah, I think it takes all levels of government.
Absolutely.
Hay River's a good example of that.
Is there a dollar cap at all on how much will be coming into the community through this program?
There's not a dollar cap. The cap is determined by the applications that come in and how many are approved. And we don't start with a limit, right? We don't start with a limit. What would be considered maybe capping would be the delineation of the geography that is going to be deemed to be eligible in your community for the private side, as well as whatever comes in and maybe potentially approved on the municipal infrastructure side. But no, we don't start with an upset limit in terms of the totality of the financial support that comes from the province, but ultimately it's determined by the geography and what are eligible costs, because not everything is eligible for the private side or for the municipal infrastructure side.
And before we leave, again, I want to thank you for today, the commitment that you've made, both with the program and announcing. We definitely appreciate that. I take you at your word that we're going to work on this, whatever, and certainly at AMO and whatever in the time to come, that all levels of government have a role in this, and we look forward to working with you on this. So on behalf of my community, I would like to thank you.
Thank you very much.
The barricades can be removed.
Good to meet you all, and, yeah.